The clock ticked quietly in the corner of the small nursing home room. Through the window, the autumn leaves drifted down in golden spirals, a reminder of how seasons came and went, whether people were ready for them or not. Eleanor, at 82, sat by the window in her favorite chair. She had been strong most of her life, raising 3 children, surviving the loss of her husband, even keeping a little garden until her late 70s. Yet now, the vibrant sparkle in her eyes had dimmed. Her days had become routine, her steps smaller, her voice softer. One evening, as her granddaughter Clara visited, Eleanor whispered, "It feels like time is running out faster than I thought." Clara held her hand and smiled sadly, but inside she wondered why so many of our seniors slow down so sharply before reaching 85. Clara had read the statistics. A large percentage of people don't make it much past their early 80s. Yet she also knew of a neighbor, Mr. Williams, who was 92 and still jogging every morning. What made the difference? Doctors, scientists, and researchers have spent decades trying to answer that question. Of course, some factors are beyond control: genetics, unpredictable illnesses, accidents. But the surprising truth is that many seniors lose years of life not because of fate, but because of small, hidden mistakes they never realized they were making. These mistakes don't scream for attention. They don't cause instant pain. Instead, they creep in silently, like shadows, reducing energy, weakening the heart, dimming the mind, until one day, the body can no longer fight back. Imagine it like a leaky boat. A sailor may not even notice the tiny holes under his feet. The boat still floats for a while. But over the years, as the water seeps in, the weight grows heavier, and finally, it sinks, not because of a storm, but because of what was ignored. That's how many lives end earlier than they should. To understand this better, let's step into the lives of 2 seniors living just streets apart. Harold was 84 when he passed away. He had been a devoted father, a hard worker, and someone who believed in just pushing through whenever he felt unwell. He didn't drink much water, often skipped doctor visits because nothing seemed wrong, and after retirement, spent long hours alone watching television. His decline was slow but steady. His legs weakened, his memory became fuzzy, and eventually, a small infection that could have been managed spiraled into something his body couldn't fight. Meanwhile, Margaret, who lived 2 blocks away, celebrated her 90th birthday surrounded by family, cutting a cake and laughing with a voice still strong. Her secret: it wasn't wealth, luck, or perfect genes. She had made daily choices, simple, almost invisible habits, that kept her stronger than most people half her age. She walked every day, even if just around her garden. She drank water like it was medicine. She kept her mind active by reading and playing puzzles. She visited her doctor for regular checkups. She ate simple meals, mostly unprocessed. And she never let herself stay isolated. She called her friends, joined a small choir, and often laughed out loud. Harold and Margaret both lived full lives. But the difference between 84 and 90 plus wasn't destiny, it was those hidden habits. The truth is uncomfortable. Most seniors die before 85 because they unknowingly fall into patterns that quietly shorten their lives. Modern medicine can extend life in emergencies, but prevention, the little daily acts, is what truly adds years worth living. Yet these daily acts are often overlooked. People underestimate the power of hydration. They dismiss small aches until they turn serious. They stop moving, thinking rest is safer than activity. They accept loneliness as part of aging. They eat for comfort rather than nourishment. They forget that mental sharpness needs exercise, too. These are not dramatic mistakes. They don't grab headlines, but they accumulate like dust on a shelf, each speck barely noticed, until one day, the weight becomes too much. After that evening with her grandmother, Clara couldn't stop thinking. She started researching late into the night. She watched documentaries about the world's blue zones, places where people lived to 100 with vibrant health. She read studies from Harvard and the World Health Organization. She spoke with doctors who had decades of experience with elderly patients. And the pattern was clear. It wasn't fate, it wasn't luck, it was habits. The people who thrived into their late 80s and 90s weren't superheroes. They were ordinary people who simply avoided the silent mistakes most others made. Clara returned to Eleanor with a notebook. "Grandma," she said, "I think I've figured it out. There are 6 things people do, or don't do, that quietly steal their years. If we can avoid them, maybe you'll be with us not just until 85, but far beyond." Eleanor chuckled, her eyes twinkling. 6 things. Only 6. That sounds manageable. Only 6. Clara smiled, but each one is powerful. The idea shook Clara too. She realized society often treats aging as an unstoppable decline. People say things like, "Well, that's just old age," whenever someone forgets a word or struggles to stand. But the truth is, much of what we blame on age is actually the result of neglect, of choices we don't realize we're making. Think of the difference between a car that's maintained for decades and one that's ignored after the warranty expires. Both may have the same design, but one lasts far longer because care was constant. The body is far more resilient than most people believe. Seniors who nurture their bodies and minds can surprise the world with their strength, agility, and clarity, even past 90. Those who don't often leave earlier, not because of destiny, but because of decisions. This story isn't about scaring people. It's about shining a light on the paths ahead. Just as a traveler avoids potholes when warned in advance, seniors and their families can avoid these hidden mistakes if they know what they are. The 6 mistakes Clara discovered will form the heart of this journey. Each mistake is like a chapter of a larger story, revealing why lives are cut short and how simple changes can protect precious years. But before diving into those 6, we must remember the most important lesson from this beginning. Most seniors don't lose years because of sudden disasters. They lose them quietly, through daily habits that seem harmless but accumulate into an invisible countdown. And that countdown doesn't just affect seniors. It starts much earlier, in middle age, sometimes even in youth. The sooner we recognize it, the more power we have to stop it. That evening, as Clara closed her notebook, Eleanor squeezed her hand. "You know," Eleanor said softly, "I always thought getting older meant shrinking, slowing, and waiting for the end. But maybe it means fighting back in small ways." Clara nodded. Not fighting age itself, but fighting the mistakes that make age harder than it needs to be. The leaves continued to fall outside, but for Eleanor, something shifted inside. The quiet fear of running out of time was replaced with determination. She didn't need to live forever. She just wanted to live fully, for as long as she could. And if avoiding 6 hidden mistakes could give her that gift, she was ready to try.